One Day by Sajni Patel. Quarantine sucked, especially when we were packed into urban apartments like a package of Oreos, and not even the interesting kind of Oreos, but the strange flavor that no one likes. There's no space, no quiet. All day, my parents worked in the living room. All day, my little sister Lily co-horsed her summer school virtual classroom, that little teacher's pet. She learned how to mute everyone in the first session and had gone dictator with power over sense. I decide who talks now, she said in this weird, deranged voice, pressing a finger against the keyboard on my old laptop. She took up the entire dining table with her craft supplies. I mean, when had arts become so cutthroat? I could not with her. Lily was proudly negotiating Clorox wipes and toilet paper on the elementary school black market in exchange for electronics. If she were the mastermind behind an entire underground network, no one would be surprised, and my parents would probably reward her with a rarely seen fresh donut. I rolled my eyes, grabbing a piece of sourdough because baking as a family is our thing now, and I went to the bedroom I shared with Lily. It was big enough for two twin beds, two nightstands, one dresser, and two desks. Every surface is covered with snacks. There are various bags of chips and cookie containers on the floor, half eaten bags of all four flavors of Teddy Grahams, and empty popcorn bowls. Just looking at the soda bottles in the corner makes my stomach hurt. Yet, I still stuff my face. I plop onto my bed, which I hadn't made in who knows how long, and I felt something hard slide beneath my hand as I eased back against the pillow. What the? I snatched the controller headset. So that's where you went. Been looking for you since last week. Now I can finally get back to playing video games with the girls and talk about bread. Marley and Janice are also baking a lot these days. Marley has gotten into sewing super cute handmade masks, and Janice has added TikTok videos to her repertoire, which seems more productive than whatever I was doing. I was too bored to play, and I had a terrible stabby headache from all the screen time and noise. I just want to nap. Lily's voice carried through the hallway as she told someone named Matthew to raise his virtual hand if he wants to talk, or she'd mute him indefinitely. Then there was shuffling feet and movement and a closing door. Ma had walked into her room to her desk, which was directly behind her bed. Her muffled voice permeated the walls and went straight into my throbbing head. Dad is on a lunch break by the sound of clinking pots and pans. Ugh, I just want some peace and quiet. No noise, no screens, no talking. There's always something happening from 7 in the morning till 10 at night. Meeting, classes, TV, cooking, cleaning, texting, talking, even religious virtual gatherings. I was losing my mind. If it was possible to crawl out of my skin and escape into the clouds, I so would. Luckily, there is a place I could escape to, my one refuge in this miserably confined, loud as crap world, the balcony. Ma was too worried about bioterrorism, aka some infected a-hole purposely coughing on us, to let us go on walks without her and Dad. But the balcony is safe. Crawling out the window and onto the balcony, I sat outside on a folding chair 4 stories up. The balcony was small, partially filled with plants, and I'm desperately trying to grow. Just live, I told them, but they don't seem to be interested in cooperating in the muggy summer heat. Poor roses wilted with sad, decrepit petals and mint dried into crispy strings. I sigh and I close my eyes. The tall building keeps the sunlight from directly searing my face and casts shade instead. A light breeze shifts through the air and caresses my skin. Thank goodness for shorts and thin shirts. Beautiful, blissful, quiet. Brum, brum, brum. What was that twangy, guttural pitch? Vibrations of something hit the air and pierced my precious silence. My stabby headache is getting agitated AF. The sound got louder and louder until I pried open my eyes and I searched the balcony for the source of this racket. And then I found him. Across the wide alley, some dude in a gray t-shirt and blue board shorts sits on his balcony the next building over, 1 floor below and 2 balconies over. His head is bent low. He's playing a guitar. A mass of thick black hair that needs a haircut falls in his face. I grit my teeth and I hope he'll stop soon. But he didn't. I glance out my window and there was 100 more annoying sounds inside. Hey! I shout, cringing at the loudness. Stabby headache is going to kill me. He doesn't hear. Dude was playing that thing like nothing else, like no one else is around. When in reality, several hundred people live in these two buildings, and I couldn't possibly be the only one wanting some quiet time. Jumping to my feet, I shout again, my voice scratching my throat. He pauses and scans the building until he found me glaring at him and my hands on my hips, standing against the railing. He waves. I don't wave back. Can you stop? I'm trying to get some quiet, I yell down to him, cringing from the pain in my head. He shrugs and mouths, sorry. Then he went back to playing the guitar. It sounded even louder, the audacity. Did he think he owns this air? I need something. I turn one way and then the other, looking for something to throw. I was heated. My skin prickled and a fire whooshed down the back of my neck. I couldn't throw one of the sickly plants. My mom had bought those pots, and they might shatter into someone below. In a moment of temperamental spontaneity, I tug off my sneaker and I chuck it at him with aim and force of a seasoned softball pitcher. As soon as the shoe left my finger, I yelped, Gah! Oh no, why did I do that? Was this assault? Did I hurt him? Did I lose my favorite shoe? I ducked just as my sneaker hit the brick side of the building. He carefully stood to find me with my hands on my face and my fingers slightly open to peer through. He pressed his lips together and frowned. He shook his head like he was about to call my mom and tell her what I'd done. My mom would ground me for sure. Well, like ground me after quarantine was lifted, because right now it doesn't matter. My entire life is one long, weird grounding session. He bent down, swept up the shoe, and he tossed it in the air a few times as if he was debating whether to throw it back to me. Ew, he picked up my sneaker without sanitizing it. In the end, he salutes me with my own shoe and he mouths, thanks. I kind of need my shoe back though. I wiggle one socked foot in horror. This wasn't just any sneaker. It was half to a glorious pair of white Converse made special by my friend. You know, the one that I may never see again in an actual school. He returned to playing the hollow sound, to irritating me, and I wave my arms wildly in the air to get his attention. He just smirks and bobs his head and got really into his music. I yelled at him again, but I ended up straining my voice and coughing. Beta? He opens my bedroom window and walks to the window. What are you doing? Who are you yelling at? Some person who's just making too much noise, I say weakly. My throat hurts from yelling. He tilts his head listening and says, nice music, sort of relaxing, no? Come inside and eat lunch. We have sourdough sandwiches. I groan. If I eat one more slice of bread, I'm going to turn into a loaf. I grunted at Guitar Boy and I crawl inside. Lunch was as peaceful as things could get these days, mainly because our mouths were busy chewing. During meals, we always left the TV off and electronics around charging stations. Before quarantine, we would talk about our feelings and our day while we ate, but we're so up in each other's business now that there's no need to. Privacy? What's that? Zoom meetings leave a buzz in my head, Ma told Dad. It's the earbuds, he said. Necessary and inevitable. She has a glazed look and mumbles, I might need a drink tonight. Can I sleep in the living room again? Lily asks as she munches on Karen's. Sure, Beta, he says. What a relief. Lily sleeping in the living room beneath a makeshift tent with her stuffed animals and her friends on FaceTime gives me the room all to myself. It's the best. When we finish lunch, I clean the kitchen and then I shower, all the while plotting ways to get my shoe back. When I emerge from the bathroom, I spot the dry erase board against the wall. What if... Are you using this dry erase board? I asked Lily. You may use, she said. Thanks. I grab the board, an eraser, and a black dry erase marker, and I go out to the balcony. Guitar Boy has left, but I spot my sneaker behind his chair. For now, I enjoy the solace. With my head finally void of buzz, Thoughts, worries, and anxieties, the headache eases away. An hour of quiet has been magnificent until Guitar Boy comes back out. I glare at him, silently daring him to play with what I'd hope were squinted eyes of doom. He waves, sits down, and faces me and strums. First things first, I hold up my sign. I need my shoe back. He kept playing and then squinted to read and then shrugged. Like, now. He held a hand up to his ear in the shape of a phone. I want my shoe. He pulled out his phone with a grin, a very cute, albeit impish one, and then he held it up to me and he waited. Gah! I'm not giving you my number. He shrugged like no biggie and placed the shoe in front of him and serenaded it. His music was moving, little raindrops in my soul, like fingers adept and so different from the noise he has bombarded me with earlier. I was at a loss for dry erase words, and apparently I was not alone. Several people came out to the balcony and listened, applauding when he stopped. I found myself leaning onto my elbows against the railing, unwilling, mesmerized by the resonating, majestic notes of a song I didn't even recognize. Guitar Boy played for a little longer, then sat with my shoe, all the while ignoring my many adamant signs. This went on for the rest of the evening with intervals for bathroom and dinner breaks as he toyed with my sneaker. After each song, he held his hand to his ear in the shape of a phone, and every time I shook my head with as much annoyance as I could show. At first, everyone else minded their own business, but his music, or our choral, or whatever led to a gradually increasing balcony audience. People got nosy, wanting to know what our tiff was about and why I don't want to talk to him when he is essentially serenading me. One person, then another, then a few more cried out, "Oh, come on, give the poor boy a break. Give him your number. How romantic. What music?" Romantic? No. Opportunistic? Yes. He played into the night, and maybe I could bide time. How long could this last? How long before his back hurt and his fingers bled? "That's lovely music. Who's playing?" Ma asked as she walked through my room. I went inside. "Some guy who won't let me have quiet," I grumble. Betta, come watch a movie with us," she said instead, and went into the living room with Lily's pillow and blanket. Maybe, but all I really wanted to do was figure out how to get my shoe back. Strange. That was the first thing to pop in my head as soon as I woke up the next morning. Not having to pee or what to eat for breakfast or even the realization of a blissful morning peace, but Guitar Boy. After going through my morning routine and doing some reading, I go outside. There he was, sitting in his chair facing me. He waved. Without breaking eye contact, I held up a sign. "Shoe?" He held up my sneaker in one hand and his phone in the other. A dozen scenarios gushed through my brain. Could I throw a pot at him? Could I climb up the balcony and take my shoe while he's gone? Can I figure out which apartment was his and knock on the door and tell his mom what he's doing? Guitar Boy played smooth, soft notes for almost an hour, a new song each time. He took breaks and came back out to continue our standoff. In the evening, when more people got home, as well as other kids, they'd come out to listen and they'd take sides and add irritating commotion. Except those who took my side, of course. They got imaginary brownies for being on the side of me. This went on for another day. The division of sides quickly shifted. Many people turned into Team Guitar Boy, sorry. I was losing this battle. While Marley posted IG stories of her cats and dressed in tutus and hand-knit caps, and Janice group texted us her new monthly workout challenge for a better booty, I complained about Guitar Boy. Today's standoff includes snack on the balcony, shade for high noon, a fan, a pillow on my back, an icy fruit drink, and my trusty sign that Lily would need back any minute now for summer school presentations. Guitar Boy was equipped with a bottle of water and his own snacks. We pretty much live out here now. He played, always slow and melodious, sucking me into a trance with songs I'd never heard. His music lured me into a daze, one that I fought against all the time and wanted to be upset over. But over the course of these past days, it had created something sort of bizarre. I hadn't noticed it until now, until I fully gave in, because one, being annoyed adds to my headache. Two, his music is kind of soothing. Three, this was a free show, to be honest. I lost track of everything around me, melted and blurred. It didn't matter how hot it was or if my butt hurt from sitting on this folding chair. Musical notes fell around this back street width of space between us. Notes that ballooned into plump, swaying raindrops and dancing fairies of round, thrumming beats. For once, noise didn't give me a stabby headache, or induce anxiety, or make me want to throw something. Was this what music did for him? All cathartic and stuff? This time when he stopped, there was a void. Silence was too quiet. I actually missed the music. Badly. Like absolute hollowness. In a world full of color and chaos, there was now a splattered goop of black abyss with a sign that read, "You are here." I went inside and I cooked dinner for my family, giving Lily the task of measuring the ingredients. My parents had taken a nap earlier and now were folding laundry. "You two need to make your bed and clean your room," Ma scolded. "Okay," we told her. "Honestly, we need routine and cleanliness. We don't want ants, do we?" Dinner came and went, and then Lily and I cleaned our room. Well, I did most of it. She put away her things, but I made the beds and I cleaned up the snacks. She immediately went to the living room for movie night, which was every night. I went to the balcony, ready for the standoff during the 7 p.m. serenade, but surprisingly found several people on the balcony around us, all quiet, like they were waiting for something. Guitar Boy didn't have his guitar out. He waved. One by one, people across the balcony held up signs. On paper shopping bags, on dry erase boards, on Amazon cardboard boxes, imploring me to give this boy a chance. And with those signs came hoots and hollers, cheering me on. Guitar Boy just stood there with his hands shoved in his jean pockets, a smirk on his face, a shrug as if he hadn't orchestrated this entire stunt. Heat rushed to my cheeks. I groaned and yelled, "Fine!" But in reality, giddiness squirmed through me. Never had a boy tried so long and this hard to get my number. Never had one put together a phone number proposal like this, or had an entire crowd backing him up. Had a boy ever even asked for my number? The scattered crowd applauded and whistled. Thank goodness my family was in the living room watching a movie, turned on so loud they didn't hear this commotion. I didn't have the dry erase board, so I held up my fingers to hand over my cell phone number one number at a time. Guitar Boy immediately added it to his phone as my face warmed from all the approving attention. I expected my phone to buzz with a text, but nah, it rang. He actually called me right here and now in front of everyone. My hand shook as I answered. "Hi," he said in a level, deep voice as he stuffed one hand back into his pocket. I tried not to smile, but dang it, I was grinning so hard that I almost spun around so he couldn't see. "Hey," I said as casually as possible, but my voice might have been trembling. "So, this is what you sound like when you're not yelling?" "Yep." "Thanks for giving me your number." My gaze fluttered to the alley below, away from this intense look, away from the noisy audience. "You forced me to." "Did you tell all these people to do this?" "What? That had nothing to do with it." I glance at him, and I can see him grinning now. "Right, so this just evolved on its own?" He laughed. Wow, he sounded so nice. My skin tingled. "Can I have my shoe back?" I asked. "I don't know." "Well, wasn't that the entire point of getting my number?" "No, the point was to finally talk to you. If I give you your shoe back, you might not talk to me again." "So, extortion, is it?" "Collateral." "Wow. Okay. Can I ever expect to get my shoe back?" "Of course." He looked behind him. "I have to go. Can I text you later?" "Do I have a choice if you're holding my shoe hostage?" He held up the sneaker for me to see. "It's in good hands. Promise." I clamped down on a smile as he went inside, and with his departure, I went inside too. I joined my family for the movie. If nothing else, got my mind off Guitar Boy, but I found myself constantly checking my phone, which didn't go unnoticed by Ma. "You waiting for something important?" "Someone's supposed to text me." "Someone? Not a specific name? Are you talking to boys?" Ma asked. "What?" I said without much conviction. Nice thing about quarantine is I don't have to worry about boys getting too close to you. The virus took care of that. 6 feet at all times. Hard to kiss or do things you shouldn't be doing when you have to maintain social distancing. Ugh, can we not talk about that? No one is trying to get close to me. The movie ended and still no text. Lily was already asleep in bed, and I crawled underneath my covers, facing the wall with my back to my little sister. The window was in my view and the phone beside my face so that I could see it light up. This was totally uncool to wait for some boy. I was not here for this. I was going to sleep and respond when I responded. Just as my eyelids fluttered closed, the screen lit up. Guitar Boy. Hey, are you still awake? I tapped the phone deliberately on replying. Yeah? My name's Neil. What's your name? Bobby? Bobby? Isn't that a boy's name? Not in my culture. Don't throw your social constructs my way. LOL. Fair. I need my shoe back. Do you, though? Yes. When you threw it at me, though, it was a gift. I didn't hit you. That would have hurt. You threw it kind of hard. Nice aim, BTW. I'm a softball pitcher. I could have thrown it way harder. Nice. I mean, the pitcher part. Glad you didn't throw it harder. You could be a gentleman and throw the shoe back. I don't have your aim. It might end up on someone else's balcony. Meet me outside then? Sounds like an invitation to a fight. Listen, I also have a softball bat and I'm not afraid to throw that. I'm going to hold on to your shoe for a little bit longer. Collateral. Hey, can we video chat? Why? So I can see your face? Well, you saw me outside. Kind of far, though. I'm in bed and it's dark. You're not going to see much. I'll take what I can get. I bit my lip and I thought about the request for a moment before obliging, but mainly because I wanted to see him closer up too. I popped in my earbuds and I checked how I looked in the camera first. It wasn't the best, but it was dark and he wouldn't be able to see much of me. I took a deep, nervous breath and video called him. Within seconds, Neil manifested on my screen. He sat in bed in a well-lit room, his cheeks a little flush as if maybe he was nervous too. He had a lot of quarantine hair, wavy and wild, that curled in the ends. It brushed his ears and forehead. His smile squashed up in an intense brown eyes and deep dimples formed. But his smile, he had a big, bright, dazzling smile behind full lips. He was super cute. I mean, Mina Masad, was that you? Neil grinned. You're going to stare any harder? You might hit your face on the screen. I swallowed. Whatever. Anyone tell you that you look like Mina Masad? He raised his eyebrow. Who? The guy who plays Aladdin? He shook his head and he pressed his lips together. Those dimples. No. Oh, well, you do. Anyway. He furrowed his brows and brought the phone closer to his face. Who is that behind you? I jumped and I rolled over, almost screaming with fright. Lily! I quietly yelled, trying to get my heart to calm down. She, like a little creeper, was standing over me and just all in my business. Are you talking to a boy? Shh! What are you doing? You scared me to death. You're not supposed to be talking to boys. Who is that? She leaned down to look at my screen and excitingly asked, Is that Aladdin? Neil laughed and waved. Oh my God, I muttered and ushered her away. Go back to bed. Then I said to Neil, I gotta go. I showered, washed my hair, and shaved, just in case, Neil wanted a video call. What if I accidentally dropped my phone and he got to look at my hairy legs? I checked out my reflection. Ugh, this growth of unkept brows. I deftly plucked my eyebrows and made sure my clothes were fresh and clean. Since when have you begun drinking coffee? Ma asked as I poured a mug for myself in the kitchen and grabbed a waffle hot out of the toaster. I smothered it with butter, no syrup. Just want something not sweet. My gums are starting to hurt. She frowned. Yes, we need to limit sugar. Quarantine is not an excuse to go sugar wild. Where are you off to in a hurry? Dad asked as he helped Lily with something on the laptop. I'm going to eat breakfast out on the balcony. Good, some fresh air. Make sure to water those poor plants while you're out there. Okay. I closed the bedroom door and I hurried to the balcony, throwing a pillow and my sweatshirt out to make myself as comfortable as possible. Everything was set up. My shades on, relaxed and leaned back on my pillow cushion folded chair with coffee in my hand and a half-eaten waffle on a paper towel in my lap. In about 4 minutes, Neil texted, "Hey, I'm going to be out on the balcony in a bit if you want to come out. Some real FaceTime. Maybe?" "Sure." When he emerged, he beamed and waved, and then he leaned his forearms against the railing, and we just watched each other. There is something very rewarding about being able to check out a boy from afar, and the shades hid my gawking now that I knew what he looked like up close. There was an entire conversation between us without uttering a single word. He eventually sat down and pulled a book from the windowsill before asking to video call. Sure, why not? My stomach tied into little knots in anticipation as his image appeared on my phone. The shade stayed on, though. "Hi," I said, simple but not thrilling. He was even cuter in the daylight. His skin glowed. "Hey," I replied, trying to sound as chill as possible. "What you up to today?" "Oh, the usual, eating, drinking, watching my friends' TikToks. I might play a game with my fam later, waiting for a certain boy to hand over my shoe." "Nope." Yes, you can't keep my shoe and not give anything in return." He tried to change the subject to summer quarantine hobbies, but I kept reeling the conversation back. He relented, and I spent the rest of the day watching, rewatching, and triple watching some hilarious, amazing, swoon-worthy videos. I, of course, shared with Marley and Janice, who conceded with their heart-eyed emojis that Guitar Boy was the absolute cutest boy ever. Oh, and also a good dancer. After dinner, I stayed up late on the balcony while Neil played, this time airy and uplifting. "This is for you," he texted. Was a boy seriously playing music for me? Well, nosy neighbors thought so, but they also benefited because they sure did stay out and enjoy it with me. Applause ensued after every song, and Neil took a bow. He earned it, and I absolutely saw how music had become his outlet. That night, I video chatted with Neil for another hour, in the dark, completely alone, but for some time, in a long time, not really alone at all. The next morning, my parents left early for the weekly grocery run. It was a whole event now. The carefully calculated and long list that had accumulated over the past 7 days. The drive, the mask, the hand sanitizer and wipes, waiting in lines outside the store, social distancing protocol within the store, and of course, long checkout processes, all the while praying they could find everything in one place, not to mention having to wipe everything down once we unload the groceries inside. "Can you come in outside?" Neil asked over the phone. "For my shoe?" "Yes." I frowned. "Does this mean you're willing to give me the one thing that ensures we keep talking?" "Well, I hope we keep talking afterwards, or without a hostage. Meet you in front of the building in 10 minutes. I just have to finish the sauce." "You cook?" "Yep. Don't have much else to do. I've been watching YouTube cooking videos, but now my mom complains that she doesn't have anything to do," he said. "What are you making?" "Fettuccine Alfredo with veggies. Just mixing bread, though. Store's been out. Thought of trying to make my own bread, but it looks hard. Plus, the store is always out of flour anyways. Guess everybody's baking," he muttered in a sad, disappointed voice. "We hoarded that stuff early, before quarantine was official." "Smart." I chewed my lower lip and finally said, "See you in 10. "Awesome." I hurried to change into something cute and decided on a red tank and navy blue shorts. I checked my reflection in the dresser mirror. Ew, was that a pimple on my jaw? And what's going on with my frizzy hair? Ugh, I can't go meet a boy for the first time looking like this. I whipped my hair into a top bun. In the kitchen, I grab a Ziploc prepackaged with Clorox wipe and I stuff it into my back pocket. In the corner of my eyes, I noticed the loaf of bread that we made the other day. We haven't even cut into it, and it's the prettiest one by far. The X cut on top was pure pro level, and crust crispy and golden brown, and the inside sure to be chewy, and its misshapen counterparts. I carefully wrapped it in foil and I placed it in a bag when Lily came out of the bathroom. "Are you going outside?" she asked with her brown eyes wide and accusatory. "Don't tell." I held a finger to my lips. But Lily wasn't having it. She was one of those little formidable girls who was going to grow into a formidable woman. She didn't have to say anything, just give me a look that said, "You're not going without me or I'm telling." I sighed and I dropped my head back. "Fine, be quick." She ran to our room and then skipped back to the foyer with a face mask and a loaded water gun in hand. We slipped, into flip-flops, and I adjusted my own face mask. We headed out through the long hallway and down the stairs. The sun hit my legs as soon as we reached the sidewalk. With no one around, I heaved out a breath. I closed my eyes and just enjoyed the sun, the space, and the outdoors. A few moments later, Neil walked out of his apartment building and headed towards us, stopping several feet in front of me. He wore the heck of a knee-length cargo shorts and a black t-shirt with a matching mask. Ugh. Boys following quarantine precautions and wearing face masks were so snackable. His hair looked absolutely touchable in person. Too bad the mask hit his dimples, and he smiled because his eyes crinkled and OMG. Who on this planet looks so adorable in a quarantine mask? Do you have my shoe? I asked. He tossed the sneaker a few times into the air before gingerly tossing it to me. I stepped aside and let it hit the ground. You missed, he said. No. With the bag looped around my wrist, I whipped out a Clorox wipe and I sanitized my shoe. Then I left it on the sidewalk to air dry for recommendation 4 minutes. Then I cleaned my hands with the sanitizer. Neil rolled his eyes, and then he pulled out a small bottle of hand sanitizer and cleaned his hands too. How was that not like the sexiest thing right now? A guy who took this whole thing as seriously as we did? He took a few steps, and Lily immediately jumped beside me and aimed her water gun at Neil, pumping it a few times. 6 feet apart, she demanded. He stopped and held his hands up. Yes, ma'am. My little sister Lily, I said, off his look. She's cute, Lily frowned. There's nothing cute about social distancing. Neil's shoulders shook as if he was trying not to laugh. You're right, he said. This is very serious. Awesome job keeping your family safe. You're taller than I thought, I said. You're exactly what I thought, he replied. Thanks for returning my shoe. I mean, for doing the right thing, which you should have done days ago. He shook his head. But then you would have never given me your number. Extortion! I glanced at my sticker and I noticed a new scribble. Neil doodled a guitar with notes beside it in blue Sharpie, and he signed his name at the bottom. Beneath the E and the A of his name, he added an upward curve so that the letters looked like eyes and a smile beneath, and yes, even dimples to make sure I never forgot who Neil was. I found myself grinning hard. You signed it? I hope you don't mind, he said, his brows furrowed, maybe worried. It's amazing, charming, sweet, nice. Let's go play, Lily said in a high-pitched whine, cutting through our moment. She hadn't been allowed outside without her parents in a week, and she was probably frothing at the mouth to run wild. I groaned. We had to get back inside before our parents get home from grocery shopping. We have to help wipe everything down. Neil nodded. Yeah, I better get home too. I have to finish cooking. Here, this is for you. I dangle the bag in front of him so he can grab it from the bottom. He looks at it cautiously. What is it? Bread. He regarded me for a few seconds. We make lots of bread, I explained. It's our family time thing. It's sourdough. Took lots of tries to get it right, but my dad mastered sourdough starter. He looked at the bag in the most unexpected, perplexed, but appreciative way. Are your parents going to be mad that you're giving away food? No. We still have bread left. Besides, we don't have flour to make your own bread because people like us hoarded it, so now you can have bread with your pasta. He smiled big by the way his eyes squished up above his mask. I'd do anything to see those dimples. I'd hug you if I could. My belly did flips until Lily reminded us, 6 feet apart. Right, which is why I won't, but maybe one day, he said hopefully. I bit my lip. Yeah, one day. One day quarantine will be lifted. One day we'll be able to get within 6 feet and not need face mask and be able to see dimples in person. One day we'll stand beside each other, his skin brushing mine, sparks coming to life, our fingers twitching as we slowly touch pinkies. One day we'll hold hands and not worry about sending anyone to the hospital. One day we'll hug and feel his heartbeat with my cheek against his chest. One day his arms will wrap around me and I'll smell him and I'll feel safe. One day we'd get to hang out, go to the movies, and meet friends. One day he'll invite me over and play the guitar. One day I'll tell him that his music soothes my anxiety and our balcony romance has made me feel normal, special, human again. One day we might even kiss, and it would be beyond amazing. One day couldn't come soon enough, but it would come. I couldn't wait for our one day.